I'm Paul Levinson, and welcome to Light On, Light Through, episode 175, my review of Stowaway, Breathless Realism in Space Travel. Well, it's Saturday, and so I'm here with a review of a new science fiction movie. I caught Stowaway just the other night. It's up on Netflix. It's been there since the end of April 2021. I liked it a lot, even though I don't like unhappy endings in space travel dramas, however realistic they may be. But I'll get to that in a moment. The MTS-42 mission to Mars, with a small crew of Captain Marina Barnett, botanist David Kim, and medical researcher Zoe Levinson, no relation, is a good setup. Although Mission Control sees a little more weight than expected on liftoff, they confirm that there's enough fuel to successfully make the voyage to Mars. Now, given the title and the publicity for this movie, we in the audience, of course, know that this extra weight comes from Michael Adams, a technician who was knocked unconscious in a pre-launch accident that also landed him behind a panel. That is, of course, we didn't know his name, but we knew that there was a stowaway on this ship. Now, Adams wants to get back to Earth to take care of his little sister, but the ship can't do that. It's just not programmed to do a turnaround in space after it has taken off and get back to Earth. And that's also a good continuing setup for this movie. The narrative then pitches into full-fledged adrenaline when it's discovered that the accident that knocked out Michael also took out a carbon dioxide scrubber. The upshot is, although there are emergency lithium canisters that can take care of some of the carbon dioxide problem, the best those canisters can do is provide breathable air for 2 people, not 4 people, the 3 original crew plus the stowaway. Well, what to do? David has algae that can produce oxygen intended for use on Mars. Can he repurpose the algae for use on the ship during this voyage? Well, yes and no, and here is where the stark realism of science and life in space rears its head. Suffice to say, the algae is unreliable, and it's soon clear that the most it can do is provide sufficient oxygen for 1 more person. So that's 3, not 4. And the movie moves into its psychological best at this point as the original crew, Marina, David, and Zoe, discuss and agonize what they can do about this. Now, there is another option, an EVA, that is an extra vehicle activity, a little trip, that can retrieve liquid oxygen from the launch section of the MTS-42. But it's a dangerous undertaking, and only David and Zoe can do it. The captain's arm is in a cast, and Michael doesn't have the training. Meanwhile, just to ratchet all of this up, David's algae is totally dying now, and a solar storm with lethal radiation is headed right towards the MTS-42. I'll leave it to you to see the breathless action that ensues. But I will say now that I regretted the very ending, and not just because Zoe Levinson, Levenson, has almost the same last name as I do. My last name is spelled Levinson, but who knows, we could be relatives if I, a real person here on Earth, could be related to a fictional character. Now, her sacrifice is realistic, that's true, and the reactions of her crewmates were powerful cinema, in many ways the best part of this movie. But I would much rather preferred she or her crewmates had figured out a way to weather the solar storm. For example, why couldn't she have stayed in the launch vehicle until the storm cleared? The captain did say the storm could take hours to pass through, but staying in the launch vehicle and whether that could have given Zoe sufficient protection from the lethal radiation wasn't even raised as an option. But I tell you, do see this movie if you're a space enthusiast and want to see human beings at their very best. Good work by Joe Penna, who wrote and directed, Ryan Morrison, who wrote the script for this with Joe Penna, and really fine acting by Anna Kendrick as Zoe, Daniel Day Kim as David. I assume you know who he is, that actor. If you don't, Google his name. Toni Collette as the captain, and Shamir Anderson as the stowaway Michael.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Light On, Light Through and my review of Stowaway. I'll be back here soon with another episode, and as I mentioned last week, from now on, every Saturday, you can expect a review from me of a science fiction movie or television series, or maybe a mystery, detective series or movie, who knows. In the meantime, stay safe, stay sound, and enjoy.
Athens, 2042 AD. She ripped the paper in half, then ripped the halves, then ripped what was left again into bits and pieces of history that could have been. Sierra Waters had read once that, years ago, it was thought that men made love for the thrill, while women made love for the sense of connection it gave them.
Curled Up with a Good Book says, Sierra Waters is sexy as hell. You can find out more about The Plot to Save Socrates by Paul Levinson at theplottoSaveSocrates.com.
Paul Levinson spilt code about an ancient biotech war raging on in secret for centuries.